James R. McClary came to the Brevard County, Florida Sheriff's Department in 2015 as a rookie, and has been active for 2 years until recently. In 2017 he became an unpaid reserve, not assigned a permanent detail. A cursory internet search showed that James R. McClary has a LinkedIn page dedicated to his job searching efforts. This page clearly shows his desire to not be a sheriff at all, but rather is selling himself as a prosthetic salesman. Yes, that is right. A prosthetic salesman. This is his LinkedIn page. The main heading is that his focus is on orthopedic reconstruction and trauma, and selling medical devices. He lists under the current employment heading as Medical Sales College. First, then Brevard County Sheriff. Second, his desire to sell such medical devices might on the surface seem benign, but as we go deeper into his past with the Army, it becomes quite chilling as to the unfortunate truth it seems as to why he chose to become a prosthetic salesman. Let's look further at this LinkedIn page. Under the summary heading on this page, we learn of his years of experience with the Army. He was a recruiter. James R. McClary describes his years doing this like he was discussing widgets or things, rather than young men and women who are going off to war to fight and even die for us all, including himself. Let's read some of this very summary as follows. Sales leader with over 16 years of comprehensive Army recruiting experience, driving production to influence subordinates to accomplish a monthly quota in an intangible sales environment. Market analysis tactics and techniques that were instrumental to success in complex markets. Dynamic skills and well-versed in providing leadership and enforcing standards that were proven successful in every assigned position. Currently seeking a territory as a medical device representative. Driving production. Monthly quotas. Intangible sales environments. Market analysis. Tactics and techniques. Complex markets. He is talking about young men and women in an all-volunteer army, not production or complex markets. He goes on under the summary to state as follows. My previous work and life experiences prepared me to enter the field of orthopedic medical device sales. His previous work experience was getting young men and women to go fight, and unfortunately some of them got hurt. Ah, I get it. While he was stateside, getting them to go, he made sergeant quicker, then could retire early. But now that he no longer sends them to go get hurt, even loose body parts, he now plans on selling them back to them. Now I get it. I guess it really is a complex market, and he seems to have done the analysis and is ready to continue to drive production. I'm sorry, but it seems very, very creepy. He has a Facebook page as well. Some photos found there are very telling as to his service in the Army. This one here shows him quite proud. The fact is that he never once deployed nor fought himself ever. He stayed safely behind stateside driving production, recruiting others to go fight, and now he plans on selling them back their lost limbs. I know it sounds morbid, but let's look at a few more pictures from his Facebook page, shall we? Here is one of 2 photographs that he personally uploaded to his Facebook page for all the world to see. It shows him in combat attire, boots and all, again, safely stateside. He has his drink in his hand and seems to be making a toast to what the caption above his head reads as, "Hey there, hot mama." Seems harmless, but when one views the second of these 2 photographs it becomes clear that he is without any kind of respect for his duty or his fellow soldiers. This photograph is clearly taken by himself. He has his feet literally kicked back, and I assume with that drink still in his hand. His job, driving production, is to get young men and women to go fight, get hurt, even die, and he thinks it is appropriate to let the world know he is just kicking back, stateside, having a drink, safe from harm. He thinks it is some kind of, "Hey hot mama," joke. It is not. People are fighting and dying, and he has to let them know he is safely kicking up his heels instead. It is just not bad judgment. It shows his mindset that he has little, if any, respect. The information and images presented thus far from James R. McClary's LinkedIn page was just prior to his changing it all around. We will get into these changes. As stated, he clearly is attempting to sell himself as a traumatic medical device salesman and decided to fabricate his history to help himself do so. He completely deletes his summary that has been shown you here and replaces it with one that makes him out be a long-time medical device salesman. He as well changes his last two entries under the experience heading from a recruiter/salesman to the head of medical operations while he was in the Army. Absolute lies. And if that is not creepy and fraudulent enough, James R. McClary creates a fake medical company and then puts into his LinkedIn page that he has been working for this St. Cloud, Florida company for 6 years. All this was not in his original LinkedIn page, but is now. On the original page he listed under the current employment section as medical sales college and Brevard County Sheriff. Under the new page he here now miraculously works for Guardian Health Partners, a non-existent entity, and has been doing so for the last 6 years. Under the experience section on his new LinkedIn page he now lists himself as a practice manager from May 2011 to the present, a total of 6 years and counting, and in the Orlando, Florida area. Let's just take a closer look at this new entry and see if it is a lie or not. When a search for this Guardian Health Partners LLC is done, it becomes most clear that it is a made-up company, as it does not exist anywhere but a recently created Facebook page. It is very telling that this fabricated company physically resides in the very city that James R. McClary lives in, St. Cloud, Florida. How do we know James R. McClary lives in St. Cloud, Florida? Well, let's do another search and you will see. At the site called Newber, we learn that he in fact does reside in St. Cloud, Florida, as it shows that to be the case. Also, we find a post on his own Facebook page as follows. James R. McClary, May 2013. I just completed a cross-country home purchase as we relocated from California to St. Cloud, Florida. Let's do yet another search, this time to determine that this Guardian Health Partners LLC is an absolute fraud. At the official State of Florida Division of Corporations webpage, we search that database for this company. What we find is that it is not listed at all, neither active or inactive. All legitimate Florida LLCs must show up here and provide information of ownership, status, etc. The fact it is not listed here means it is a fabricated company and just is not real. It is a lie and clearly fraudulent as well. As we now know, this Guardian Health Partners LLC is a total fabrication. The fact he is saying he has been working as a practice manager there in the Orlando area for the last 6 years is just impossible. As has been shown, just 4 years ago he was in the Army as a recruiter full-time in California and he just moved to the Orlando area then. The Army does not allow anyone to work other civilian jobs when they are enlisted. It is just impossible he has been working for 6 years for this or any other health company, and this company does not even exist. One would think he would have had that on his previous LinkedIn page, but it suddenly shows up now and after he was placed on unpaid reserves. Very, very creepy and clearly fraud.
Hundreds of soldiers are under investigation, and as Nancy Cordes reports from Capitol Hill,
the scam was uncovered by a 2011 Army audit that determined 1,200 recruiters and 2,000 additional Guard members had received potentially fraudulent payments.
we're talking about tens of millions of dollars.
And now there are more than 500 criminal investigations taking place across the country.
Any taxpayer would be concerned with that when our tax dollars go to crimes and someone has an opportunity to commit crimes.
If you want to see it.
No, I don't need to see it, sir.
Had these recruiters,
Hey, Sergeant,
I'm Phil Williams, not wanting to talk to us.
would you ever recommend that a recruit lie to get into the U.S. Army?
Like I said, you have to talk to us.
It's a simple yes or no question, sir.
I know.
You need to cut that out, sir.
I want to talk to you about your recruiting practices. Do you think it's appropriate to recruit people who've been committed?
Sir, I'm not going to be answering any questions at this time, thank you.
Do you tell people to stop taking their medication so they'll pass a drug test? Is the Army really that desperate for people to join?
And Chris Dugan went to malls and local high schools to recruit new enlistees.
If I recruited someone, that would count towards points that would help me to become a sergeant before I got out of the Marine Corps. So I'm willing to manipulate the truth for these people.
And because of an increased demand for more troops, Dugan says truth in recruiting is becoming a casualty of our times.
You're a salesman. Again, you have a quota.
I don't think the military should be so shady about the way they bring people in sometimes. Some recruiters out there, it's bullshit. That's why it's volunteer, and you shouldn't trick people or tell them one thing or another, promise them a job or whatnot. And it fucks the United States, it fucks the Defense Department, and it screws. It's why we don't have bodies all the time, because some guy 20 years ago got screwed like that.
Expected to accomplish our mission. I'm given a task, and I'm expected to accomplish what I've been asked to do.
They need to do anything they possibly can to get recruits.
Sue Niederer says she's all too familiar with recruiters' lies.
He was told he wouldn't see combat.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Her son joined the Army in 2002 and ended up in Iraq. His job? To find roadside bombs.
How did he die?
He was killed by an IED.
Bomb.
A bomb.
2 years later, she says our investigation confirms her belief that there's a widespread recruiting problem.
They were going to send some people over there, but they stopped that because we'll start bringing people back.
In which another casualty appears to be the truth.
You can ask anybody who's been there. We've all had more close calls out here on the Long Island Expressway and the Southern State and stuff like that than we did when we were over there.
This kind of conduct really does fly in the face of what the military stands for: honesty and honor.
Yes, obviously there's training that needs to be done.
90% going to be putting their lives on the line for our country. Tell them the truth. That's all. Just tell them the truth.
Recruiters are liars. You're a salesman. Again, you have a quota.
ran me off the road right here in my golf cart. So I pulled over and he got out and he said, "You're dead, mother effer." And I'll admit, man, I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid of the guy, man. He's fucking like bigger than you know? So I'm a little guy, man. I do admit I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid for my life. He told me he was going to kill me.
Okay.
All right. And then he grabbed me and he just beat the shit out of me. He bit me in my finger. And then he just beat me in my head with a pipe, man. And I just balled up, really. And then a lady over here or something came out yelling. And then I just went up to a friend's house and
The insecticide, would you spray him out in the face?
Yeah.
The insecticide, would you spray him out in the face?
Yeah. I had him a little bit blinded, so I could have gotten the heck out of there, and that's what I probably should have done, but I had him a little bit blinded, so I could have gotten the heck out of there, and that's what I probably should have done, but
Is it still over there?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that address over there?
I'm not even sure. It's just parked like in the bushes right up here, probably, I don't know, the next street light or whatever.
Is it still over there?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that address over there?
I'm not even sure. It's just parked like in the bushes right up here, probably, I don't know, the next street light or whatever.
Did you think about calling us?
I thought about it.
Okay. What stopped you from calling us or trying to get a hold of us?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Did you think about calling us?
I thought about it.
Okay. What stopped you from calling us or trying to get a hold of us?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
And he ran me off the road right here in my golf cart. So I pulled over and he got out and he said, "You're dead, mother effer." And I'll admit, man, I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid of the guy, man. He's fucking like bigger than you know? So I'm a little guy, man. I do admit I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid for my life. He told me he was going to kill me.
Okay.
All right. And then he grabbed me and he just beat the shit out of me. He bit me in my finger. And then he just beat me in my head with a pipe, man. And I just balled up, really. And then a lady over here or something came out yelling. And then I just went up to a friend's house and
Let's briefly recap what we know as facts. Thus far, this heavy wooden club called a wooden stick by James R. McClary in his evidence log was found in Dan's golf cart that he admits he put in some bushes just a few lights down. In fact, this golf cart was hidden by Dan in those bushes. This club or wooden stick is clearly covered top to bottom in blood, in Chris's blood. James R. McClary knew this club was used by Dan to bludgeon Chris's head, yet he made no mention of it anywhere in his report, nor did he question Dan about it as he should have. He completely ignored this key club evidence altogether. What is most disturbing is that James R. McClary not only knew Dan used this weapon upon Chris, but knew Chris was blinded and no threat to Dan, as Dan himself stated that he had him blinded and could have gotten out of there, and probably should have done so. Along with a club called the wooden stick, being placed in evidence was Chris's hat that James R. McClary labeled a blue hat that was found in Dan's hidden golf cart. McClary knew this hat was Chris's, and again made no mention of it in his report or questioned Dan about it as he should have. He knew Dan took it as a trophy, and again completely ignored it altogether, but by not mentioning it at all he lets the evidence log paperwork that he created about it state that this hat was Dan's property rather than Chris's bloody property found in Dan's possession. What is clearly a case of evidence tampering is McClary's intentionally ignoring of the actual t-shirt that Chris wore that night. In one of his own photographs it is right there in front of him. He was made aware of it that night, but put into evidence photos of Chris in a new clean shirt that he had put on after washing away the toxic bug spray and blood that covered him. McClary has stated that there was no other shirt there that night other than the one Chris was wearing. He is a liar. It's right there in his own photograph. When one looks at the shirt and hat together that Chris had on that night, along with his injuries, it becomes most clear that more went on than what Dan stated happened and what James R. McClary knowingly, unintentionally put in his report. This is the bite mark on Dan's finger. It is clearly not on a finger but on the back of his hand and knuckle. It is the exact pattern of a downward bite on top of Dan's right hand. The distance between the two marks, the top teeth and bottom, are so far apart that it can only be made if Dan's hand was balled up gripping something. That something was that heavy club. Blinded and struggling to breathe and to see, with blood gushing and dazed from the first shot to his head. Chris had no choice but to bite his hand once they struggled over that club to stop Dan from continuing to use it on him. Contrary to Dan's "I'm just a little innocent guy" act, he is a devious and violent guy, and James R. McClary had all the evidence to know that night, but instead covered it up for Dan.
calling the police, and he said no, no, and got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, Toby, Toby, and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Or destroy the house, knock the house down. He had, it looked like a thin, long metal piece he picked up and had it with him when he took off in the golf cart. Calling the police, and he said no, no, and got back into his golf cart and headed south. Calling the police, and he said no, no, and got back into his golf cart and headed south. Got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, Toby, Toby, and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Or destroy the house, knock the house down. Got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, Toby, Toby, and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Or destroy the house, knock the house down. He had, it looked like a thin, long metal piece he picked up and had it with him when he took off in the golf cart. Calling the police, and he said no, no, and got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, Toby, Toby, and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Or destroy the house, knock the house down. He had, it looked like a thin, long metal piece he picked up and had it with him when he took off in the golf cart.
Blaise Trettis struck Dan's victim in the head with a metal pipe 2 or 3 times after running him off the road. He got out of his vehicle and stated, "You're dead, motherfucker," as he came at Dan, who feared for his life at this time, due to the size and stature of Chris. Chris grabbed and threw him to the ground and started beating him with a metal pipe. Upon arrival, I spoke with a witness who advised the following in a sworn recorded audio statement, that the victim was lying on the ground saying, "Toby, don't destroy the house." The victim then got up and walked to a white golf cart and drove south.
Got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, "Toby, Toby," and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Yes, or destroy the house, knock the house down.
Upon arrival, I spoke with a witness who advised the following in a sworn recorded audio statement, that the victim was lying on the ground saying, "Toby, don't destroy the house." The victim then got up and walked to a white golf cart and drove south.
Got back into his golf cart and headed south, yelling, "Toby, Toby," and something about wanting to break the whole house down or something.
Break the whole house down. What do you mean by that?
Yes, or destroy the house, knock the house down.
Upon arrival, I spoke with the witness, who advised the following in a sworn recorded audio statement. The witness went outside her home and saw a large white male wearing blue jeans and a flannel shirt.
And what kind of clothing was the suspect wearing?
The guy in the van, I want to say it was just like jeans and a flannel shirt or a shirt.
And what kind of clothing was the suspect wearing?
The guy in the van, I want to say it was just like jeans and a flannel shirt or a shirt.
Tampering with evidence. Tampering with evidence, or evidence tampering, is an act in which a person alters, conceals, falsifies, or destroys evidence with the intent to interfere with an investigation, usually by law enforcement, governmental, or regulatory authorities. It is a criminal offense in many jurisdictions. The goal of tampering with evidence is usually to cover up the crime. Tampering with, or fabricating evidence. No person shall alter, destroy, conceal, or remove any record, document, or thing, with the purpose to impair its verity or availability in such proceeding or investigation, or make present for use any record, document, or thing, knowing it to be false. Any person who violates any provision of this section shall be guilty of a felony of the 3rd degree.
I had him a little bit blinded, so I could have gotten the heck out of there, and that's what I probably should have done. But I had him a little bit blinded, so I could have gotten the heck out of there, and that's what I probably should have done. But
now the walking stick. Did you use that when you were?
Yes, I did, because the bee killer didn't stop and he was still coming at me.
Okay. Why didn't you? Did you help the police use the stick?
Yes, I did.
Now the walking stick. Did you use that when you were...
Yes, I did, because the bee killer didn't stop and he was still coming at me.
Okay, why didn't you... Did you help the police use the stick?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And he ran me off the road right here in my golf cart. So I pulled over and he got out and he said, "You're dead, mother effer." And I'll admit, man, I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid of the guy, man. He's fucking like bigger than you know? So I'm a little guy, man. I do admit I did spray him with bee killer because I was afraid for my life. He told me he was going to kill me.
Okay.
All right. And then he grabbed me and he just beat the shit out of me. He bit me in my finger. And then he just beat me in my head with a pipe, man. And I just balled up, really. And then a lady over here or something came out yelling. And then I just went up to a friend's house and
The incident involving Chris currently pending in court involves a piece of evidence, namely the maroon bloodied torn and wasp spray-soaked shirt that my son Christopher was wearing the night that he was beaten with that club. This shirt was ignored by the arresting sheriff entirely that night, which was strange as it was shown to him by Christopher, and was there in front of him on a little plastic garden shed the whole time Christopher was interviewed. As I understand, the sheriff that night entered into evidence pictures of Christopher wearing a much different blue shirt that he put on after he was forced to shower to remove the toxic spray he was assaulted with, obviously washing away any traces of blood as well. The maroon shirt was the shirt he was wearing during the incident, clearly, as it was bloodied, torn and wet with toxic spray. When Christopher was cuffed and being taken away, I came outside. I was instantly overwhelmed by the maroon shirt and its chemical wasp spray. I had to cover my nose, mouth and eyes, it was so bad. Detective West was present, and he saw my distress. I stated to him, "What is that awful smell? It's burning my eyes." He responded, "Sorry ma'am, it's his shirt that's covered in a toxic spray." He then took the shirt in his own hands and threw it into a plastic trash can that was right there. At the time I did not think anything of it until later when Christopher called me from the jail and asked about the shirt. He asked me to not empty the trash can it was still sitting in, and I did not. Christopher soon bonded out, and retrieved that shirt from the trash can exactly where Detective West had thrown it. I did not ask of Detective West to throw this shirt away, nor did I stop him when he did. A lot was going on at the time, and I didn't realize its importance. As well, I attest to that blue hat in evidence being my husband's that he gave to Christopher and that Christopher was wearing it that night he was beaten. I do expect a response from you concerning this most serious matter.